Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. It's finally springtime, or we're pretending that it is here in Indiana. It's warmed up, the sun's shining. My husband and I took a little drive the other day and decided to go out to our local cemetery and take the Christmas greenery off of the graves. And of course it wasn't time to put new flowers out yet, but we decided that we would just take a little trip and go on a little historical tour and show you guys some things. I took this video of a stone at the cemetery I thought you'd be interested in. Sorry about the wind. It's really cold out today, but I came out to our local cemetery because the sun's shining and I wanted to take the greenery off from the Christmas decorations that we put out. And I thought while I was out here I'd bring you over here and show you this stone that's pretty popular folklore in this community. I don't know if you call it folklore or just popular, but this is a stone from the old days. It's in the oldest part of the cemetery, and I've been coming to this stone for probably 25 or 30 years. From the first time my girlfriend and I were out here decorating her grandparents' grave, and we read it, and you can't read it any longer. You see it says Haynes, but it's hard to read now because the letters are so, I don't know what happened. You know how that goes. I'm going to do a rubbing of it one of these days so we can read it. But I'm going to read it to you. It says, "May my poor bones rest from the terror of mother and father." And it's signed Kate. Isn't that just the saddest thing? That she felt the need to put that on her tombstone. And she died in her 30s. And like I said, I can't remember all the details off the top of my head, but I will get the details on a rubbing and I will tell you later. I just took the Christmas greenery off of it, and I'm going to put some spring flowers on as soon as the wind dies down. But I just wanted to share that with you guys. I think she needs mentioned and thought of as often as possible. And my girlfriend passed away, but her and I came out here every year and put Christmas greenery on, and we put spring and summer flowers on, and I'm going to do that real soon. So I'll do a rubbing of that so you can see when she died. I can't remember the exact dates, but when I worked in the beauty shop, all the older ladies in the community would tell me different stories about what they heard happened to her. Apparently her family lived in a big old house out on 28, not too far from where we live, and supposedly she was kept in the attic or something like that. I heard different stories, so I don't really know. These women would have maybe known some of her family, but wouldn't have known her because she died too long ago. But I just wanted to share that with you, and I'll get a reading of it with a piece of paper and a pencil, and we'll read up on the dates and everything. But I just wanted to share that with you guys. After I filmed this, I went on findagrave.com and found out this information about Kate. Then we just took a drive through Rossville, Illinois, and where my family was from, and looked at some old barns, took pictures of them. I thought that some of these barns would have fallen down by now. I've seen them since I was a little kid, and I just love to go by and look at them. And we were driving past this one home, and right behind their house, we saw all these deer roaming around in the middle of the afternoon. It was like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. We counted 17 deer on each side of their house. They were just walking around everywhere right in the middle of this guy's yard. We couldn't believe it. And then, of course, in the rural Indiana and Illinois, you're going to find these little roadside junkyards just about everywhere. These have old semi parts, and this old tractor, it looks like it's rusted to perfection. And then over in State Line, Illinois and Indiana, we live pretty near the state line. It's very rich in Abraham Lincoln history. There's actually a trail that you can go on and see all the markers of where he stopped and stayed when he was coming through Indiana and Illinois. And there's several markers, and the schools go on the trip and see them. We kind of drive past them all the time and don't notice them. And then as you're going into Danville, Illinois, which is about 18 miles from us, this is the sign going into Germantown on into Danville. It's a little part of Danville, and on that overpass, they have painted Abraham Lincoln and one of his quotes. And on the right-hand side, I noticed just the other day that there's a depiction of Man's Chapel, which really made me happy. I drive by it all the time and had never noticed it. And then downtown they have a beautiful mural of Abraham Lincoln in front of the Fithian home, which was Dr. Fithian's home. Dr. Fithian was a surgeon in the Civil War, and Abraham Lincoln was a friend of his, and he stayed at his house a lot. And if you go to this house, the Fithian house, it's now the Vermilion County Museum. You can see the bedroom that Abraham Lincoln stayed in, and it's still the same as it was at that time. They haven't changed much. And he gave a speech on the south side of this house on a balcony up above to many people. And then Uncle Joe Cannon, he's depicted on a mural downtown, pretty much near the post office. And he was one of the oldest members of Congress, and he was the Speaker of the House for a while, and he was the first man on Time magazine. He was on their first cover of Time magazine, and you ought to look him up. He's a very interesting man. This mural in Danville depicts the stadium, Danville Stadium, and their ball team is really great, and the boys and I and my husband, we used to like to go watch them play. And then Danville sponsors a balloon classic every year out at the airport, and hot air balloons come from all over, and it's quite a sight to see. We've went to that many times. And Danville was the original factory that made Chuckles candy. It's one of my husband's favorite candies, and they're really hard to find. We finally found them at a little grocery store in Covington, Indiana, not too long ago, and it made my husband really happy. And I didn't realize that Evel Knievel was a spokesperson for Chuckles candy until I saw this mural that was beside the one about Chuckles. So I learned something. And then we're very rich in history with entertainers. Bobby Short, Jerry and Dick Van Dyke, Gene Hackman, Donald O'Connor. They're all from Danville or very close proximity. And Bobby Short, of course, was a major influence in New York as a piano player. And he lived in Danville. Jerry Van Dyke, Dick. All of my friend Judy, her sister used to date Jerry Van Dyke, and she said he was always acting up and acting silly, and she really didn't pay much attention to him because he was kind of annoying at times. But this is the Hagler Mansion. All 5 of those stars came home in the 80s and did a fundraiser for the Fisher Theater, and my brother played piano for the reception that they had for him, and he got to meet them all, and that was a real big highlight of his life. I wish I could find the pictures I have, and I would put them on here. But this is the Fisher Theater where Dick Van Dyke used to work. And I think I read where Gene Hackman was a manager there at one time, or at least he worked there. And this was the theater that they came back and did a fundraiser for. And it's been renovated, and they still hold a lot of the arts there, and it's a beautiful building. This is a sign that's in front of Danville High School, just a couple blocks from where Dick Van Dyke and Jerry grew up. It shows Dick Van Dyke dancing, and there's a sign that says, "Keep on moving." And I think it's great because Dick Van Dyke's 98 years old, and he still dances and carries on every day and exercises, and I just think this is a really neat sign to have out in front of the school. We're so lucky to have this history of all these people from Danville. We drive by these murals all the time, and of course we know a little bit of the history, but when you get on the internet and look them up and read about it, it's very interesting how all these people came from one area. This is the Catherine Randolph Theater that used to be Emmanuel Presbyterian Church where Dick and Jerry Van Dyke went to church. Now, I was a little hesitant to show you this, but it's reality. This is Dick and Jerry Van Dyke's boyhood home. And believe me, I've reached out to the town to try to see what they're going to do with it. And from the reports I've read in the paper and online, it seems they're going to tear it down. But it's pretty sad because it's kind of neat history. And then that's another mural of one of the car dealerships in Danville. And we have some really nice murals. Now, this is back in our little hometown of West Lebanon. It's a mural they painted a few years ago, and some people love it, some people don't love it. It's got roosters or chickens, and this chicken, he's leaning down behind a building, and you can't really tell what he is. But we have a mural, and it depicts farm stuff in rural Indiana. This is my nature tree that I had out. I kept it up because It's just pretty. I like it because it's got all the baskets and the fruit and the birds' nests and the birds. And of course, I tucked some of my primitive Easter eggs into it, and I'm real happy with it. I went thrifting the other day, and at Restore, I found this beautiful crystal dish for $1. Now, this Restore is so silly. They'll have real nice stuff for $1, and then they'll have real junky, broken stuff for $6. I found this peridot colored cake stand at Hobby Lobby the other day, 50% off, and I bought it because that's my birthstone color, and I like to find anything I can in that color. And they have these at the Dollar Tree, but they're a little higher at Hobby Lobby. I found this little plant mister in the same green color at the Dollar General for $3. They had it at Hobby Lobby for $10, and I love it. And then I always pick up little Easter chickens when I'm out thrifting. They're like a quarter, 50 cents, and I like to set them out in the springtime. And this one, it's kind of valuable. It's carved out of wood, and it had kind of a pricey sticker on it. This is a transferware soup bowl that I got the other day for a quarter, and I just absolutely love it. I'm still trying to figure out if it's new or like from TJ Maxx or someplace, or if it's old. I believe it's old, and the pattern is just gorgeous. And I also found a few of the dinner plates. All of them were $1.99. Then I found this. I call it Flow Blue. I don't know if it is, but it's got some flowers on it, and I have one just like it. And I picked it up at Restore the other day for a quarter. I was wondering if you guys had ever seen these. I saw this and bought it for my friend who collects Fiesta ware because it's got all the Fiesta ware colors around the edge. And I looked it up, and it's vintage, but it's not Fiesta. But I got it for her because she uses juicers, and I figured it would go with all of her Fiesta ware colors, and it is vintage. Then a dear friend of mine named Shelley Briles Crane, if anyone around here local knows her, they know how special she is. She gave this plate to me. It's hand-painted flowers, and I just love it. And she gave me the most beautiful card that made me cry. I love her. Thank you, Shelley. I saw this plate the other day that matches my handleless rolling pin that was my grandma's, and I didn't buy it because I don't need another plate, but it does match my rolling pin, and it's probably from the 40s, but it had a lot of crazing in it, and I didn't need it. And as I'm walking past the books the other day at Restore, I didn't even look at them. I just walked past them. I said, Marcy, step away from the books. And as I'm walking past, out of the corner of my eye, I saw this like brand new Marge Clark cookbook. I just picked it up, didn't even look at it. It's never been opened. It's great. It was $1. Then I found this wooden bowl. I buy a lot of wooden bowls when I find them, and I saw this name on the bottom, and I couldn't quite make it out. And when I finally looked it up, I'm going to say Thurnauer or I don't know how you say it, but I got it for $1, and they're like $100, $75, $100, $135. I saw all kinds of prices. Thurnayer is what I'm going to call them, and I'm going to start looking for them all the time. I just put my wooden paddle in it and a little light and some of my handmade pears that I made at Christmas time, and I just set it in another bowl. I can't walk away from a $1 wooden bowl. Then I saw this pretty All About Flowers 500-piece puzzle. It had originally been bought at TJ Maxx. I got it for $1, and it's a real good quality puzzle. And I looked online, and they sell for anywhere from between $15 and $25, and I can't wait to put it together. Now, I saved the best for last. I'm at the thrift store the other day, and I found this gigantic cylinder, ruby red, cut to crystal candle holder, I guess. I don't know what it is. It could be used as a vase. I put my remote up against it so you can see how tall it is. It's 12 inches tall. It's 10 inches in circumference. It weighs a ton. It was $5, and I just about flipped. I love it. This is one of my dollhouse rooms I wanted to show you. I try to put a little bit of miniatures in all my videos. This is one of my rooms in my country farmhouse. And that little turquoise picture, I made that years ago, and it's one of my favorite ones I've ever made. And then these are some little mini beef house rolls that I made out of clay many years ago. They're smaller than a dime. They're just tiny, tiny. And then my orange roses that my husband got me for Valentine's Day, I took the water out of them, and they're drying up perfectly. And they look like they're upside down now, but I can turn them right side up once they dry, and they're going to be beautiful. So I want to thank you all for tuning in. I've got so much more to show you. I hope you enjoyed this little historical trip. As always, I encourage you to join me on Instagram at MarcyJoe631 and see what's going on Instagram. I'm always doing something different. And I please, please, please encourage you to like and subscribe.